Boom, welcome to the Indie Artist Summit stage. This is your host, Billy here from Big Shop Beats. And the person I'm about to bring on I actually met through a friend of mine that was a speaker on the previous Indie Artist Summit and in rooms on Clubhouse when the app was the hot topic. She's a successful Italian American R&B singer-songwriter with 80,000 plus all-time streams, 60,000 plus Spotify monthly listeners, and in collaboration with Empire Distribution. She recently made an appearance on a segment of the Fresh Living TV show, and she was a student of Stevie Mackey, which is a vocal coach for Jennifer Lopez, Selena Gomez, Jenny Aiko, and more. And she was also a student of Mindy Pack, which is a vocals coach for Miley Cyrus, Sam Smith, and more. So I'm confident to say that she's the songwriting queen on domination mode, and that's a topic that we are going to cover on this exclusive interview. So without further ado, let me bring on to the virtual Indie Artist Summit stage my good friend, Miss Ludovica. How you doing today?
What's going on? Hey.
It's great to have you on here. We made it. We are on here to share some value with some of your knowledge. Now, for some of the people that are going to be tuning in, which is going to be mostly independent music artists, I want them to get to know you a little bit better. So let them know where you're from and let them know about your story that led you all the way up to where you are today. Let's get it.
Oh my God. Do we have 3 hours and a half?
I know sometimes it can get long, but yeah, let's try to keep it a little short, just to get them for them to get to know you.
I'll paraphrase my life. Let's see. So even though I sound American, I am not from the United States. I was actually born and raised in Italy. I spent majority of my life in Italy. I was raised nearby Rome, and then I decided to move to Utah for school. And that's where I found good people that hosted me to go to school and get an education. I ended up graduating in public relations. Never thought that my life would steer back to music because I started in music. In many interviews, every time I sit down with somebody, it seems like I tell the story that my family is very musically oriented, and that was my upbringing basically. I went back and forth with it. I found my way around back to it when I was in the United States, and now I'm here.
Awesome. So that brings us back to, like, how old were you when you moved out of Italy to come to America?
That was back in 2012. So I was about to turn 17.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. So, yeah. So what was the turning point that said, okay, I need to move out of here to go to America? So I guess you were you had the American dream, I would say, right? So what was the pivotal point right there that had you decide to make the big move?
Well, I guess I could make it sound prettier than what I'm about to say, but the reality of it was that the surroundings, the circumstance that I was brought in, I was raised with everything I needed, but just my surroundings were very dangerous and somewhat poor, and people weren't like the safest. So right. I love the people that I grew up with, but I saw the cap, you know what I mean? Right. And I wanted to push the lid. I wanted to go beyond that. And to me, there wasn't a better place to do that in the world of the United States, where, I've always seen, whether it be in TV shows or listening to music, by the things that people were speaking about, if you work hard, you get it. It's messed up. You're gonna ride some major waves. You're going to have challenges like everybody else, right? The bigger the dream, the bigger the waves. But at least if you work hard enough, you're going to get it. Something that I didn't see back then, back where I was. So that's the main reaon why I made the transition. Yeah.
Awesome. At one point in my journey, I've had hurdles as well. At one point, I actually went broke spending money on paid advertising to build my music production business up, right? So I had to put the music business stuff or the music stuff on the back burner for a little while. And that was crushing. That was devastating, right? So we all went through struggles. We all went through some challenging things in our lives. Now, I heard on your recent appearance on the Fresh Living show that at one point you kind of veered off music, and then you kind of came back. What happened during that time in your journey, and how did it feel to come back to the music even stronger with all the knowledge that you've acquired up to that point?
Oh, wow. This is one of my most favorite questions because it goes into like why I'm doing what I'm doing,
Right.
which is the biggest reason. Um, I started declining into my calling. I like to call it my
I
calling
love that. I love that.
when when I was like a teenager and I used to sing in front of people and I used to feel like this aura, this bad energy, this evil eye, right? Some people might call it coming from people because I would just be this pure, I guess, like pure intentioned young girl, like expressing myself in a vulnerable way because expressing yourself in arts is very emotional, right?
Right.
And I used to feel like people would have access to me. And I'm like, they could hurt me,
Yeah.
they have such a strong hold of me whenever I put myself into those situations because I am vulnerable. I am being real, so I had to learn how to be vulnerable, but also like stand my ground. And that, Billy, is crazy how it came with a car accident that almost took my life.
Wow.
I was 18 years old and it had just been a year that I moved to the US. I was alone. My family was still back home. You know what I mean? Limiting English skills. I had zero knowledge of how to move around and I was still like adjusting, right? It was a whole new place for me. And one morning I was driving to school. This is when I was going back to college, and a bus hit my car uh, sideways and it just totaled my car. I shattered my face to the window and it was just complete painful situation. I got stuck in the car. I couldn't get out, waited for the ambulance to come through. And they said, we got to take you to the hospital. And I've told this story like many times. And it's crazy how I didn't look at my bank account, but I knew that I'm an international student. There's no way that I'm covering any medical bills right now. I didn't even have health insurance. So I'm like, the doctor, there's no way I'm going with you right now. I'm sorry.
Right.
So I didn't go to the hospital and many people will not believe me, but I opened that door of that total car and I walked can I swear?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead. Just be yourself. Yeah.
I walked my ass back in my little regular apartment with my backpack on, skipped school for that day and the week after because I was completely in shock. I had flashbacks. I'm like, I could have lost my life right there and then. My family wouldn't have even like been able to say my last goodbye. You know what I mean? And when back then when we had Skype, not FaceTime,
Right.
I Skyped my family and I kept my laptop camera towards my chest, towards my t-shirt. And my mom was like, why don't you let me see your face? Billy, never in my life I thought I was going to shatter my mom's heart. Then that day, I
Yeah.
knew if she saw my face, she would have had a heart attack. And just seeing the look in her face and my dad's face, I was just completely broken. But I thought a lot in that week. I was like, you know what? I'm going to school for political science. I'm thinking of switching majors to like public relations. I promised my family that I would come to the United States and fulfill the assignment, right? Which was getting an American degree. I'm going to stick to it because I'm a woman of my word. But life can take me like this.
Right.
I need to do music because that's what I came here for. And so never, ever, ever after that day, which was March 4th, 2014, I ever doubted where I was going to go right after I would graduate and walk that stage.
Wow. That's powerful right there.
and now we're here.
Crazy. And that I guess that's one of the things that gave you the superpower. And this is why you have to be so clear on what you want to do, where you want to go. Because yes, you had an assignment or like a, let's say, a homework to complete before you go to the next step, but you were clear about that and you kind of focus on that. And here we are today talking. Like this is absolutely amazing, and I commend you for sharing that with us. Now, one of your superpowers, you have an amazing voice. You're a singer, but you're also a songwriter. And a lot of people can say, okay, I struggle a little bit with that. It's not my forte. I know it's your forte. And that's what I want to cover on here so that we can lead with value on that part, on that topic. How do you go about writing songs? Now I know that other people are going to look at their story or things that happened in their life to write and everything, but what's your thought process? How do you go about, writing your music? And I know that's a big part of your calling. And
Yeah,
I just want us to share some gems on that with your part of this interview.
absolutely, man. It all comes organically. I want to start with that, and for anyone that is looking to get into more songwriting, I would say start with that. Start organically. Do not push any songs out of you. Do not force the writing out of you. Just sit with you, observe for some time. You gotta study the book before taking the exam. You can't just take the exam. So study your surroundings, feel yourself, sit with your emotions, see what you're about, because that's all going to help you in what you're going to write about, which is at the very end of the day, what you're going to teach, right? Because every artist is a teacher and a student at the same time. So when I sit at the piano, it's always a song because I might go months without not writing, you know? And then when it happens, I'm telling my story to myself at that point. And I record every single time. I record everything I do, every mistake, every take, you know what I mean? So that I have a record for it. And I put it all together, I piece it all together. And, obviously I refine the lyrics because nothing comes spot on at the first take. And then a song is made. And to be fair, I'm not the best pianist at all, right? I just want to put it out there, but I have studied piano enough to know how to double certain arrangements, and I know my keys and I know my melodies, and it's crazy how I think this is God. He takes me to different, I guess, combinations of the same things that I know how to work around to create more. And that's a statement. You don't need to have everything to make something. Start from where you are. Start from what you know. And you'll be surprised how much you can make from that.
Nice. A few key important things that you mentioned is not forcing it. That was pretty cool. And second thing that you mentioned, that you record everything that you do. Like sometimes
Everything.
even me, I'm guilty of that because I'm a music producer. I make beats and all that stuff, and I may record something or start something, and then I would had the bad habit of just deleting that or scrapping that. But now what
I
I
feel
do
that.
is I actually don't delete it. And sometimes I go back to it a couple months later, a couple weeks later. And I was like, okay, hold on, there's something here. And I can develop something completely different or go to a different direction that I
Mhm.
didn't think at that time to go towards. Right. So I think that was a
Absolutely.
key, important thing that you said right there. And you also mentioned about, you're not the best at the piano, but there's a few key elements that I know about that I can expand on, and it doesn't need to be so complicated. It doesn't need to be something different every single time. It can be the same base that you expand on and create something new about. Now, can you expand a little bit more on how you even went to the extent of getting vocal coaching with along with your songwriting? Like what at what point in your career did you said, okay, I need maybe to take it to the next level, and
Mhm.
you get access to some of your the teachers that are in your arsenal.
Yeah. So it all started from getting classically trained right around, like I said, 10, 11, 12. That's when I went into my a conservatory for opera, and I got
Oh,
classically
nice.
trained. Yeah, you know what I mean? I would love to give myself credits for that, but my father is a vocal coach.
Wow. Wow, that's
So,
huge.
and orchestra conductor. And at the time he was one of the vocal professor at the conservatory. So I had a way into getting, trained by one of the best coaches. And that was just an immense fortune that I will carry with me forever, right? I'm not saying everybody should get classically trained, but if you have the opportunity, of course, grab it. And then later on in my life, when I have rediscovered, my calling, I then went to the very extent, to the very end of the world to seek that music knowledge that I had left behind for so many years, right? Because I felt like I lost so much time that I could have spent, learning about music and getting educated about the industry. So right after my degree, I actually got a certificate in music business at New York University, NYU, to learn more about the business. And then that's when I got introduced to Stevie Mackey's program and I don't remember how long the program was, but it was more than 6 weeks, and it was an immense help because from my classically trained ear, I went into let's sing a little bit of R&B, let's learn about soul, which was my alley. And I
Right.
felt right at home when I did that.
Awesome. That's great. And would you say that playing an instruments or playing the piano is important when it comes to songwriting?
Absolutely. Yes, like you said, I was going to say not just the piano, learn how to play an instrument.
Yeah.
Yes, it just changes the it changes the game.
Right, because I know like coming up myself, I was always attracted to the music classes in school, like even in elementary school when you started with the flute and all that, and then my mom put me in,
Yeah.
piano lessons and stuff like that. But you say if you're a music artist but you're not necessarily playing an instrument, that you should get to learning to play an instrument, and that's gonna inspire you to come up with something, right? Like, is that something that's key when it comes to
Yeah.
songwriting?
Like every a locksmith needs his tool. You know what I mean? If you don't have a vast toolbox, can you still make it? Yes, because you're still a locksmith. But you're gonna have to show up at the house and do the work with your bare hands instead of just showing up at the doorbell. Ma'am sees you, welcomes you. You got everything you need. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just different. Seize the moment.
Definitely. Awesome. Great. So that was a pretty concise, pretty straight to the point when it comes to that. Any last word that you want to share when it comes to songwriting that whoever's going to be watching or tuning into this want to know that is also important when it comes to that part of the process of creating music?
I would want to say do it with your heart. Don't do it because somebody else has done it before. Do it because it's truly coming from you. It's literally a storytelling talent. So just take your time. I mean, my album alone that I'm producing is 10 plus tracks of pure songwriting. Nothing has been quote unquote, I guess, electronically made. It was all made from live instruments, from scratch, from a melody line that just came right from a person, and it
Nice.
was all implemented in such manner. And yeah, it's I mean, it's 8 years in the making. So speak about take your time, right? So
Yeah.
just take your time because to tell a story, it might take a lifetime. So don't rush it.
Ooh, I like that. To tell a story might take a lifetime. Man, that was powerful right there. I'm gonna have to
Thank you.
credit you on that quote. Amazing, amazing. Thank you for your
Thank you,
knowledge and,
King.
and your time. Where can people find you? And maybe some resource that you want to share when it comes to songwriting.
Absolutely. Well, I would totally shout out Stevie Mackey. Go ahead and do his class. His course is in his Instagram. I'm pretty sure it's Stevie Mackey from what I can remember. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Ludovica Songs with the Z at the end.
Okay, awesome. Great. Now, it was awesome to have you on here to share not only your story, but some of your knowledge when it comes to something so important when it comes to the creation process of the music. Now, if you want to know more about songwriting and an example of how Ludovica goes about it when it comes to writing a song, I invite you to upgrade to the All Access Pass. So that's going to give you access to part 2 of this interview. And also, you're going to get access to all the content from the Indie Artist Summit for a lifetime so that you can go and watch all these interviews at your own pace. So you can do that right now by upgrading to the All Access Pass by clicking on the button right underneath this video right now. And you'll also see some bonuses on that page that's going to improve your experience when it comes to the Indie Artist Summit. All right. So don't hesitate. Click on the button below right now if you want to get access to part 2 of this interview, and you also get access to a part 2 interview from all the speakers. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you there. All right, let's go.